All right, what's up, everybody? It's your boy Jin here, and in this episode, we're gonna be talking about nothing but barbs. By the end of this episode, you will be an expert, and if not, just watch it like 5 more times. Okay, so I've got this video set up in different chapters. So if you just want to see one part or two part, or you want to skip past something like the intro or something like that, go ahead. They'll be separated into chapters. All right. And if you guys appreciate that, if you guys appreciate any of this information and any of my videos, so please click like and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow. All right. So history of barbs. History of barbs in the game of Perfect World, that is. In the beginning, barbs were always like one of the most useful tunes in the game. Like you needed to tank all the bosses, protect the people, pull lots of mobs at the same time, and so you can just kill them. There was something called a Zen, I don't know if you call it formation or a technique, where the barb would go around pulling everything and then gather the aggro, right? You'd pull everything and then you'd stop and you'd do like a roar or untamed wrath, and you would collect the aggro of all the mobs while they're killing you. The cleric would sit there and heal you and heal the party, and then other people like wizard or seeker would sit there and AoE, and so that would be called a Zen party. Well, okay, so after the Sins came out, the assassins and the Tideborn race I'm talking about, they had APS gear, and rank 9 I think came out around the same time. So, and when APS came out, well, Sins had APS with blood paint. Blood paint heals you for every damage that you do, and so you're rewarded for doing more damage. And so they would just APS, stay into Spark, and the Spark would actually heal them, give them more defense or whatever. If it's a Sage Spark, of course. If it's a Demon Spark, it wouldn't give you more defense, but you would constantly heal and be in top physical damage, right? And so you would just sit there and heal by proxy by doing so much damage, getting the heals back. And so barbs were like no longer needed, and everybody just asked for Sins. I mean, the whole game was just 50% of the population was Sins, and I hated that version of PWI. I wanted to quit. I stayed with it, and actually at that time I had a demon barb, and so I learned how to make a demon barb into APS. And so I would gather everything as the barb form, stand up, kill them all and stuff with your barb form, and with everybody's help, of course. And then when it was time to kill the bosses, you could stand up and use your fists and APS it. So that kind of kept me into the game and such, and I ended up building other tunes like an archer and eventually a dust blade, because I just sat that barb down for a while, even though it was my main, and it was more fun to play the other tunes for a while. And then came the glyphs. The glyphs kind of equaled out everything as far as barbs. Got rid of all their weaknesses, gave them strengths, but you had to, let's see, I'll show you. For glyphs, you would gain certain strengths, but you couldn't keep other ones, right? So let's say this one right here, Blood Rush. As far as Blood Rush is concerned, you can glyph it to give you way more defense, or you can glyph it to give you way more offense, but you couldn't have both at the same time, right? And let's see, there's some other skills. This one right here, Bestial Onslaught, that one became, well, for Sage Barbs, it was a godsend, because Sage Barbs had very low accuracy and very low crit. Even right now, as built as this guy is, my Sage Barb, he's only got 37% crit. But if you had, let's say, a hybrid build with a lot of Dex, see, this has very minimal Dex. Everything is into vitality, this strength, all that came from the armor and stuff like that. So if you had a high Dex build, you can have a lot of crit rate, but you would do less damage and you wouldn't be as tanky. All right, so you had to have a sacrifice for this and that, but it made you so you can customize your barb to whatever you wanted it to be. And you'll see later on how I changed the 2 different ones. By the way, if you didn't, I didn't tell you, this is my Sage Barb and this is my Demon Barb, okay? And I've got them in 2 separate looking gears, but actually let's keep it there. And for this one, he needs to be in attack gear, and we'll put him on. Okay, so just keep that in mind. The one in white is Sage, the one in red is Demon. Okay, and so after Glyphs, this one Barbs became really good again, but on PWI they actually nerfed Barbs again. But I think they were still good. On this server, they're really good. So it's one of the best Barbs, or best tunes that I can think of. That is for PvP and PvE, and can tank anything, and can do a lot of things. But you do have to have different glyphs, you have to have different gears. To give you an example here, this whole row, 2.5 right there, is all gear. There's another one, and then all these 2. Alright, so there's actually 1, 2, 3, 4 different sets of gear. And on this server, you can set it up so that you can just instantly change gears. Alright, so whew, I hope that wasn't too much. So yeah, right now Barbs are in their prime again. Okay, alright. Okay, so the next point I'm gonna make here is hate when Barbs do this. And you'll see this in squads and stuff like that. You'll have a Barb, and I'm not trying to call out anybody, and maybe there is another reason why Barbs are doing this, but I'll explain something. So Barbs have 2 forms, right? The stand-up and the tiger mode. This is the standard tiger mode. This is the custom one. Well, tiger mode, if you're doing damage in tiger mode, it's really not that much. Even in the demon form, they say that you're supposed to be able to do just as much damage in tiger mode as you are in stand-up, but it is not the case. You can see some of the damage here. So especially with that skill right there, Bestial Onslaught, it'll make all your hits crit for 6 seconds, right? And so if you're going to be in a cage dungeon, and you're going to be killing bosses, mobs, whatever, you want to be in stand-up mode. Some people, you can see, okay, so it doesn't show on this training dummy, but right next to the boss or whatever that you're attacking, there will be a name right here with the hit points. That's whoever has aggro. And so as a Barb, you have 1, 2, 3, 4 skills that are used to take to help you keep aggro, and you can tell what they are because they'll say rip through the enemy's flesh with your claws, dealing base physical damage plus 10,000, increases massive hatred. That right there, that increases massive hatred. You'll see on this one, and increasing your threat. So anything that says increases your hatred or threat, what it means is these NPCs or bosses, mobs, whatever it is, they're programmed to aggro or be aggressive to whoever is doing either the most damage, or in this case, the most damage with the extra threat. So let's say your Barb is doing 1 million damage, and there is a Dust Blade doing 1.2 million damage. That Dust Blade is going to take more aggro. It's going to show that the boss or whatever is going to be focused on that one because it's taking more aggro. Well, with that extra threat or increased massive hatred or whatever, it means that you're doing more like, you know, 1,800 damage instead of, or sorry, 1.8 million damage. You're not actually doing the damage, but it's just giving you that extra boost so that you can take aggro from classes that are made to do the most damage. They're called DD classes, right? So that's how aggro works. But some Barbs I see will stay in Tiger mode and just sit there and try to pretend like they're holding aggro, or you know, doing the most damage by being in Tiger form. In this, unless you are supposed to hold aggro, like if let's say there's a boss with a massive frontal AoE, and you're trying to get that to face you, and everybody else gets behind the boss and attacks it. Unless that's the case, you should not be in Tiger mode. I think that's very pretentious, especially since Flesh Ream. So it is a, oh, I've taken it off this, but regular Flesh Ream, if you don't have it glyphed the way I have it glyphed, it will reduce the physical damage by like 45% or something like that at most. But everybody else nowadays, you're gonna have like my penetrate armor increases the physical damage by 80%. And let's see, I think my Dust Blade is at 79 or something like that. My Wild Walker is at 78, but it will be at 84 if it goes to a level 8 glyph. And so if a Barb's out there doing this, please let them watch this video. And if you're a Barb, don't do that. Just stand up and do regular attacks. Alright? Okay. Sorry, had to get that off my chest. Okay, pros and cons of Barbs. And this is in general for both Demon and Sage, okay? Pros: high defense, high physical defense. If you look, even at stand up, I've got 67,000 physical defense. In Barb mode, or so, yeah, in Tiger mode, I've got 97,000, and that's on my Sage. And Demon, it goes from 55 to, sometimes it doesn't, where there go, 70,000, all right? And this is a strength built Demon, so it, unlike the Sage, which is Vit built, Vit actually helps add more physical defense and stuff. And you can kind of see the difference between the Sage and the Demon, all right? The Sage just has more defense physically. All right, so that's one of the pros. Another pro is the high hit points. If you can see on a Vit build, I don't even have my buffs on. Hold on. Let's just get them both going. Okay, so they're both on their attack gear, and you can see that my Demon Barb has only 45,000 hit points, or sorry, 57,000 hit points, whereas my Sage Barb has 86,000. Now, if I go into my Vit gear, this is PVE Vit gear, you have 103,000. If I go into that one, something's wrong, something put up, but I can get up to 108,000, but other Barbs can even get more than that. So that's another pro of the Barb race. Alright, another one is hard to kill. So with Barbs, you have shields, you have evasions, you have, oh, I don't have it on this particular Genie, but on this one you've got extra protections, right? Like this skill right here, solid shield from the Genie, it gives you extra defense. Let's see, that it reduces all damage by 35%, but every 4 Genie increases the absorption by 1%, every 25 increases the duration by 1%. So, or 1 second. And you've got this shield, you've got stuff that reduces their attack and defense against you. You've got even some that well, that reduces their magic attack, but you just, it's easier to stay alive, especially with that one. If you've got a red glyphed cornered beast, you've got 60 seconds of faith, right? So the Genie skill right here, faith, grants you immunity to all negative status effects. So all those together will really help you stay alive. The extra hit points, everything like that, you're pretty hard to kill. Now, don't get me wrong, other classes are also hard to kill. You have to be good at your class and know exactly what you can do to get away. Other classes have evasions or stealths or skills to make you move fast away from people and stuff. So, but that's one of the pros. So the next one is naturally fast. A Barb, when in tiger form, this one moves at 11.1 meters per second. I've also got the Crown of Armageddon, which adds speed, and the Wings of Armageddon, which also adds speed. Now my demon doesn't have that one. He has the regular Crown of Madness and Wings of Ascension. The Wings of Ascension add speed. The Crown does a little bit, I guess, but his speed is only 9.8. So there's one distinction of the two different pads right there. So, but naturally fast. Other classes you'll have to use like Chi, or there's skill cooldowns that you have to have and stuff. So you can't usually run as fast as a Barb. But being fast, you do have to go in there, be one of the first ones in there to take on everything. But you're going to be hard to kill, so not that big of an issue. All right, protection and aggro skills. This one's pretty cool. There's not too many characters that I can think of right now. Like, there are certain mobs that are like untargetable. Let's say in Iceborne Underworld, right? And the very last boss, it spawns all these dogs, and these dogs will attack the Cleric because the Cleric is healing everybody, right? And some Clerics will just, they can take a lot of the damage, but eventually the dogs get stronger and stronger the further you get along. And so with this skill, Roar, it lets out a furious roar that causes all enemies within 12 meters to attack you. So that even affects the dogs that nobody else can target. And this one also, so Untamed Wrath lets a rip with a tremendous roar of hatred and wrath, stunning all enemies within 15 meters for 2 seconds and significantly increase your threat. So both of those will help you protect the rest of the party and stuff like that. And so, like, anytime you're in a squad and the Cleric or people who are getting squishy or getting attacked and stuff, you can hit those skills and then get all the aggro. And with all the high hit points of defense, you can take that. Alright, so that's another good pro. Hit points and physical attack buffs. Now, you can get pills like the Shining Pill, Spirit of Assault, Spirit of Defense, that will give you some of these buffs. But these two buffs right here that the Barbs have, Beast King's Inspiration, that'll increase your hit points of you and your squad members by 40% and last for 1 hour. That's really good. People ask for that all the time. And then the Strength of the Titans for the Barbs, I do believe the Barbs and the Demons share them after they get into Celestial Saint, but increases your damage against monsters by 20%, lasts for 30 minutes. And the Sage version increases damage by 70%. I think only the Sage. Yeah. So it increases the damage. Okay, so it increases everybody's physical damage by 60%, and then also increases damage against monsters by 20%. And this one kind of sucks on the demon side because it increases your crit rate for 5 minutes by 5%. But what that does is actually it counteracts, like, you got this skill that increases your crit rate by 40%. So if you get that 5% on top, that won't override the 5%. The 5% will override that. So a lot of people prefer not to have demon buffs sometimes. So keep that in mind. Whew. Okay. Let's see. Glyphs work for all builds. Okay, so one of the cool things about Barbs is whatever build that you make, whether it be a Vit, a Strength, a Dex, you can cater some of these skills accordingly, right? So this one's going to reduce the cooldown. This glyph is going to deal damage equal to 5 times the amount of health consumed and up to 8 times the amount of health consumed. And what that means is if you are a Vit Build Barb like this one, that one is actually really good for you because it's using your hit points to do extra damage, right? This one's increased range, and then this one's based on like if you had strength, right? So it deals extra 20 to 50% depending on how big of a glyph you have it, and so that increases your damage per if you had more strength. So like I said, depending on which build you have, you can change your glyph to maximize what these skills do for you. Does that make sense? Okay, hope it does. All right, another pro of a Barb is they're always needed to tank or pull Catas. So even on this server right here, which is pretty advanced, it's 1.8.3, I do believe. Don't quote me on that, but even on this server, your Barb is really needed. You don't have to have one, but it's good insurance to have one for the Lord of Paradise in UP, UDC2, and Iceborne Underground. And I'm trying to think of any other cave that actually like completely needs it. All the other ones don't need to have one, but it's good to have one in any of those, right? So you're always needed. And to pull Catas, yeah, you want to be a Vit Barb to pull Cata. But if you're a Barb in any kind of TW faction, eventually they're going to ask you whether or not you want to pull Cata. All right. So that wraps up the pros, and let's go into the cons of being a Barb. So one of the biggest cons is low magic defense. So on this, no matter what form you're in, it's the same. The increased physical defense only happens if you're in tiger form, but your elemental defense does not increase. So like he's got 42,000. The demon, because his strength build is going to have less, he's only got 30,000. So that's one of the biggest things. It's supposed to be a balanced fighting system. You got the arcane is strong against the heavy armor, and the heavy armor is strong against the light armor. Light armor is strong against the arcane. But in this server, I think it's more like almost equally balanced. Each toon is equally balanced versus the other one. That's up to opinions. You guys can fight over that. Okay, so that's one of the major cons. The next major con is charm eating. So because you have so much hit points, whenever your charm right here, your charm, like this one is was it 12 million? Yeah, 12 million hit point charm. I can go through one of these in a day, no problem. Because every single time I'm like, watch. And you go up, you go down. Your hit points, depending on how you set up your auto pots, you'll just start going through charms and HP pots like crazy. I mean, that's just going up and down. There it goes again, because this is set at 90%. So that's a major issue on this server. I mean, okay, sorry, it's a major issue for some. On this server, not so much, because charms and HP pots are super dirt cheap. I mean, most people just give you them. So it's con depending on what server you're on. All right. Long battles. That's the other con that we're talking about. If you go Barb versus Barb, Barb versus Blade Master, any other HA class, it can be a very long battle because you're just sitting there using your defense half the time, then you just pop into your offense for a second and then go back into your defense. And so I've had an hour and a half battle before, and after that I was like, no, you just get tired and you just let the other person win. That's just me. I really don't want to have that long of a battle. So that's a con. I don't know if you find that a con or not, let me know. Another con is not good for fashion. And what I mean by that is in Tiger mode, you can't have any fashion except for that skin that you have. There's 2 skins on this one. This is the Halloween one, and they have a Simba one. But other than that, in Tiger mode, no fashion. In standard mode, most of the stuff won't fit your head. If you can see here, you see how this kind of wraps around, but it doesn't blend with it well. You can't wear helmets, hats, sunglasses, certain things. I mean, I think they have adapted certain fashion for it, but you can't be completely fashionista with the Barb. All right, got that? Okay. The next con we have is how to change forms to use charms, teleports, change armor, or change weapons. So if I am in Barb mode, let's say I want to change different axes. Nope, won't do it. Nope, nope, can't change any of that during Barb mode. I can't put on any charms. I have to get back up in stand mode. I'm sorry, human form. In teleports in caves like Uncharted Paradise. Is that right? Uncharted Paradise? I think it is. You have to stand up. So just remember that if you're in one of those caves and it won't let you teleport, it's because you have to stand up. Let's see. Yeah, charms, teleports, change armor, and weapons. So yeah, it's. I mean, that's not really a huge thing, but it's just one of the little pain in the asses that happen. Okay. Another con that we have is consistently buffing others. And you'll get this all the time. Someone want to go into this cave or that cave, or you're in the middle of runs and people are dying and they keep, give me Barb buffs, please, Barb buffs. And so you have to keep buffing it. Every time you have to do that, it takes this long. See that? 2. And then there's always going to be one person that just keeps dying and thinks that the hit point buff is going to save their life. But if they keep dying, you keep buffing, you're just wasting your time. But how do you say that in the middle of a fight? And everybody's going to be all sensitive to the person who's dying. So I mean, it's buff life. There's lots of classes where nobody calls for your buff, like an archer. Nobody wants that buff that archers give, because once you run, it's canceled anyway. So that's one of the cons of having 2 good buffs right there. All right, the next con for being a Barb is sometimes not needed or overlooked for DD, aka discriminated. You'll see that all the time in World Chat. They'll say, hey, we need a DD for this run, we need a DD for that run, and then you tell them, hey, Barb, because they'll ask you to PM the class, and I'll say, hey, Barb, and they'll just discriminate. It's like, you're not a DD class, and then you won't get invited, and they'll wait and they'll pick someone else. I think that stigma is starting to change, because everybody knows now that with the glyphs and stuff, you can make some really high damage Barbs and stuff like that. For example, this Barb right here, he's able to hit, I don't know if I want to say how high, but I'll just say the lowest of the highs that I've hit. He's able to hit over 70 million on Lord of Paradise if everything's debuffed right and everything works out right. So, and just to give you a point of reference, Lord of Paradise only has like 51 million hit points. So he can basically one-shot one of the biggest, baddest bosses in this game. Alright? So, please don't discriminate against Barbs. And if you are a Barb, please learn how to DD. I might make a whole other video on that. If you want me to do so, let me know in the comments. Alright? And finally, the last con for Barbs is always needed to tank or pull Catas. So, if you wanted to play a Barb and you just wanted to have fun and be a dungeon runner, or you want to do PvP but you just want to fight and stuff, that's not always going to happen. I almost guarantee you, if you are in any TW faction, one of the times they're going to run low on Barbs and they're going to ask you, can you please pull Cata? Well, if you have a strength build or Dex build or hybrid built Barb, or even a demon Barb, that it's gonna suck. Life's gonna suck as a Catapuller, as a demon Barb. The only real Barb that I can recommend to pull Catas would be the Sage Bite Barb. Alright, so that always needed to tank and pull Catas. That's a pro and a con. So depending on your situation and what you're trying to do with your Barb. If you want to do just straight PvP action and be heavy armor stuff, you might want to look into being a Blade Master or Edge Runner or Seeker. Alright? Okay. Now, since we got that all out of the way, let's talk about the biggest question I always get from people is Sage or Demon? Which should you choose? Okay, I'll tell you like this. For a Sage Barb, you have to go Vit or Strength Build. And if you go Strength Build, you're not going to be good at pulling Catas. If you go Vit Build, you can Glyph, so you can do a lot of high damage. But that's later, after you get all your Glyphs and become Celestial Saint, right? After you go Celestial Saint and you get all your Glyphs and stuff like that, then you can really do a lot of damage. But other than that, a Vit Barb sucks at the beginning for the first, until you get to that level. On the other side, you got the Demon Barb. The Demon Barb can go Strength, they can go Dex, they can go Hybrid, and the other cool thing about demons is they can also squat. I'm trying to do this and talk at the same time. They can also do that. So that is right there. There's your fist. It's got 65 attack levels, and on this server you have what's called an APS blessing, and then you get right here I have double dex rings, and so it's easy. I only stole like maybe 20 or 40 points from strength, and so now I'm able to be a 5.0 Barb. And if you look, that damage is pretty awesome. All right, so if you want to go APS, or if you want to be have higher crits or anything like that, then you'll want to go Demon. So strength Dex, or Hybrid, you want to go Demon. If you want to go pull catapults or be very, very tanky, go Sage. But Sage can also do a lot of damage, but all the damage, the DPS, damage per second, that a Sage Barb can do is nowhere near what a Demon Barb with APS and fists can do. Alright? Hope that answers your question. I try to explain that to people all the time. Some get it, some don't. But let me know in the comments if you have any questions on that one. Okay, so we're going to touch a little bit on Vit Build, Strength Build, Dex Build, Hybrid Build, and APS. So Vit Build, you'll want to do, let's show you. Here's my PVE Vit Build. All right. So we've got Crown of Armageddon and Creation Stones with plus 12s. Everything's going to be plus 12 stones. I've got the PVE weapon, and everything I can is Vit. And basically what you want to do is, you see how my Vit right now is 84 standing up. This is going to be your max damage. You want to hit the Tree of Protection, Violent Triumph, that. Oh shoot! I think I just missed the Tree of Protection, but there you go. That's it. That actually would have been a lot better had I timed it perfectly, but I didn't. So that's a Vit build. Let's see, for the defensive Vit build, PVE, it's a mix of, I do believe this is rank 9 times 2, everything's defense. This is for pulling Cata. Sorry, my mouse is dying. Alright. And that is a Heaven's Rager helm. That's a base helm. With the Wings of Armageddon. Alright. Let's go back into attack. Okay, so that's for the Vit build. And like I said, only do it for Sage. If you do a Vit build Demon, people are going to call you failed. I wouldn't do it. Anyway, strength build. You can do either Vit, or sorry, not Vit, but you can do strength build on a Sage or on a Demon. So for strength build, here's the PvE set. I did not upgrade or change the weapon to be a PvE. This is the PvP version. And we've got attack shards and everything. You're focused on raising your attack and power, and not so much vitality. I see strength. Okay, and that's, you look at the build, it's everything's to strength. Vit is the lowest, Dex is the lowest it can be, and things like the tome and stuff added to that, so that's not any points that I added myself. Alright, that was strength build. Dex build. I never built one myself, but if you build a Dex build, you're gonna have a lot higher crit rate. Dex build will be good for PvP, not so much PvE, I don't believe, because the axes get a lot of their strengths from your strength. Maybe if you use like a pole blade or something, you can do a Dex build. I personally don't recommend it. I've seen other Barbs do it, and some of them had success, but then they're not good in other areas like tanking and stuff like that, so I wouldn't do it. Hybrid build, that's exactly what this is, kind of. Like if you're on a server that didn't have the, hold on, switch it there. If you didn't have the APS blessing and rings with this much Dex and stuff like that, you'd have to rob a lot of your strength into Dex just to be able to use like these fists or a bow and arrow or anything like that. And so if you want to have fun, hybrid build on this server, it's real easy. You just have to have a bunch of different armor, because my strength build will be like these ones right here, the strength plus 13, strength plus 14, strength 10, and then I have to switch rings. So it's strength, excuse me, it switches both rings, the blessing and the cape, and well, and of course the weapon. So that is your hybrid build. And APS, is it worth it? And I've done damage tests with the Sage build, with strength, with everything, with the demon build, with the strength, the Dex, everything like that. And I will say, if you're making a straight up dungeon runner, then yeah, APS is great for killing bosses, because Barbs are known for damage per hit, DPH, but not so much DPS. And so to counteract that, you see how fast the chi builds up, and there you go. And now I have a macro that just constantly goes off whenever we get 3 full sparks, right? And so you see we're staying in maximum, there you go, you never actually leave demon spark damage. So if we look here, that's 43,000, whereas the Sage Barb naturally has only 34, and that's a Vit build. But let's go ahead and go back to strength build. You can put the fists and stuff like that on the Sage Barb, but he has to be in Redbubble on this server, which Redbubble from Clerics gives you extra attack rate. Alright, got that? Okay, so APS, worth it if you're a demon, not worth it if you're Sage. Okay, accuracy. Now this one, on the early stages of the game, accuracy sucks for Barbs. Like right now, we're at 2,500, but something like a light armor class, they'll have like, you know, 20,000. I don't remember off the top of my head, but they have really high accuracy. And so without accuracy, you'll do a lot of misses, right? But there's a certain amount on, like, I don't know what the correct combination is, but the way you get the extra accuracy is there's a couple ways to do it. You can either add it to your weapon. You see where it says the Drake Flames physical attack plus 100, and I have that times 2. You can actually put accuracy gems in here, and it'll give you like 150 accuracy each. That'll help if you're on the lower ends of the game, but if not, what you want to do is get titles. Titles, not ancient titles. Titles. There you go. So these titles altogether that I have on here gave me an extra 2,000 accuracy, right? So that would only be like 500, and you would miss all the time. With the Demon Barb, he doesn't have that many titles. See, his accuracy was on 7. So if I had that same titles on him, you'd have almost what was that, 4,000, probably 4,100 accuracy. He doesn't miss that much, and like I said, depending on which stage of the game you're at, you want to work on accuracy or not. Just know if you're missing a lot, work on your accuracy. If you're not, don't worry about it and wait till you get to start doing titles, and then start adding accuracy that way. All right. Okay. Woo, we're getting to the end of this. All right, stat requirements for endgame. So for the weapons, the highest stat requirement for Dex will be 60 Dex and 300 Strength. So with the Dex build, you cannot use the axes if you're doing full Dex. You have to have like a hybrid, all right? And for the armor, the highest Dex you need is 55, and then the Strength will be 255. So just keep that in mind for the if you're trying to save up for the end gear, and if you need to know what the maximum you need for end gear is. Okay, gear, attack, defense, vitality. I basically already touched on this, but I want to show you like what you can use. So if you're on low budget, right, you want to use something like a citrine gem, right? They're very dirt cheap. People just like give those away here, so you can just put them all into your gear. It's only going to give you 115 hit points per gem per slot. That's why it's the cheapest. For like, I'll explain to you this in a second. We'll get into the Vite. These Stone of Savants, and there's another one, I can't remember when, they'll give you plus 10 vitality. Now, vitality to most classes only give you like 13 points or 11 points, right? So for something like this, it's going to give you 115. It might be better to use that for like a mage class or whatever. But vitality itself will also give you physical defense. So this is why these are better than those. The Vite will actually give you physical defense, whereas the citrine gems will not. And you Vite for a Barb, I think you get, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's 17 points for every point of vitality, whereas other classes is 13 points or less. Okay, and then to step up from there, you want to go to something like Diamond of Dragon or Diamond of Tigers, and these are level 1s. When you combine them more, you'll get level 2s, and then that means you'll get 2 defense levels or 2 attack levels. On PWI, I think they go up to like 4. They don't have it on this server, but that's another step up. Another one, especially if you're pulling a Catas or you want to be a nuke type Barb, you'll go with the plus 12 vitality creation stones. And that doesn't seem like it. I think these are pretty much only for Barbs. I don't know any other class that gets extra added attack levels or defense levels or whatever from vitality. It's like only Barbs, I do believe. Maybe someone told me that BMs get some. I don't remember. Okay, then for your belt and necklace, you don't use the same items there, so you'll want to use like a vitality type stone or the attack or defense, and then or spirit. These are the brilliant stones. If you're going for PvP gear, you want to use something like that. Okay. Whew. I hope that helps you guys out with the sharding of the gears. Okay, skills. So some of the skills, like, you have to learn them all. There's not too many skills on here that I can say that I never use. Even one of the ones that we used before, that I had before that changed into this one, Ocean, was Garrett. Garrett did a bleeding skill, but it helped with the macros. right? And if you want to see macros, we'll go over these real quick. I'll just show you what they are. You can take a screenshot and add them yourself. There's one macro. There's the other macro. I actually have a full macro video. And so, there you go. And the demon barb is going to be basically the same. Let's see, but you want to learn your skills. Some of the basic skills that you have to learn in order to help the squad or help people is your aggro skills, right? Your roar, untamed wrath, flesh ream, devour, and stomp of the king. All right, now to do damage, you want to know all your debuffs: penetrate armor, flesh ream, and then something like a bestial onslaught will increase your crit. And on demons, I really love this skill right here, Sunder, Demon Sunder. Makes all your next hits crit for 9 seconds. Or hold on, 5 seconds. Sorry. So if you do Sunder and then Bestial Rage to increase your crit, your chi, stand up and do Armageddon, and that's really dangerous for them. All right, Genie Skills. So for Genie Skills, you get the standard Tangling Mire, Holy Path, Absolute Domain. You don't really need Holy Path because he runs anyways. Cloud Eruption. I always keep Cloud Eruption on level 1 because the higher you go on Cloud Eruption, the more Genie energy you need, right? And so it ends up being like sometimes you need like 161 Genie energy if you use the level 10 Cloud Eruption. I'm probably a little off on the numbers, so don't quote me on that one. So I always keep it on level 1, and there you go. Tangling Mire, you want a Genie with the highest strength. The higher strength that you have, the better your Tangling Mire is going to be. Solid Shield, that's a Barb only skill, and it's a shield. The higher the strength you have, the better your Solid Shield is going to be. And so those both correlate to each other. And the third one that you really need to know is Tree of Protection. That is not a Barb only, it's all class, but it really helps Barbs. Here, let me see if I can, because what it does is increases your max hits points for 30% for 5 seconds. Restores 20% of your max hit points every 3 seconds for 6 seconds. The skill will interrupt an effect of Cinnabar Amulet. I don't know what that means, but so the more strength you have, and or the Dex. So you can build a Dex build with this or a strength build, but because you've already need the strength for this skill, and there's that other one skill, and so you see this 70,000 hit points. When you hit that, look at that, it goes all the way down up to 94,000, and so it increases the damage you do based on skills that use only hit points, aka especially Armageddon. Armageddon with a level 8 glyph on this, damage increased to 7 times the health and mana consumed. So basically it'll take 7 times your health and mana and then convert that into power. You see how that works? So basically this really doesn't have anything to do with your strength. This is why a Vit Build, I just did 2.5 million without either the crit or the Zerk of the weapon. So if you double that and then double that again, that would be 10 million. All right, we're almost to the end. Tips. Okay, there is a few tips. I couldn't think of too many off the top of my head, but a lot of people don't use this skill right here, Prehistoric Frenzy. That is your ultimate skill, right? And on level 2, especially if you're doing card bosses or if you're pulling a whole bunch of mobs and stuff like that, just hit it. Look at that, 3.9 million. Yeah, okay, I am. 3.9 million, 1.9 million. That's almost 1 million. Almost a million. Almost a million. Like that does every one of them. All right. The Barbs don't have a continuous AOE. That's the next closest thing they have. And see, I do believe it goes off your max health, so you can do a tree protection and then hit that. All right. And another good tip to learn is if you're in Nation War or anywhere else, if you hit Violent Triumph, it has to be the Violent Triumph that gives you okay, so if you do something like Violent Triumph or your Cornered Beast, right? Something that protects you from immunity to all movement debuffs. That's what this does. It makes you immune to stuns, freezes, and other effects that affect your movement. So if you're going to dig like the crystal or the flag and people are trying to attack you, you hit one of these and then you hit an Iron Guard. Now you have the protection of Iron Guard, but you're still able to move around, and then you can just dig or attack. Whatever, you're just this invincible guy that can that nobody can touch, and you can just dig the flag and take off. And for the demon side, I haven't been able to do it here. Maybe this server canceled it or whatever, but what you do is you put, let's see, you put your transportation, what is it called? Your imbued tiger form, or whatever form that you have, onto the skill, and then you try to go into your APS here, because you cannot turn into a tiger if you don't have a pole hammer, axes, the required weapon. You cannot do it if you had an APS weapon like a fist or a claw or anything like that, right? So you try to change your gear and transform at the same time. And so it didn't work. Nope, it didn't work. On other servers it might work, but what happens is you use your APS gear, but you're transformed into a tiger, so you have all the defense, physical defense of the tiger mode, but you have 5.0 APS at any given moment, and that is like ultimate. But you can't do it on this server. Okay, so that's as far as the tips. Now the coup d'etat at the end. Well, I was going to show you, but the Cleric and Barb best combo ever. Okay, so I've got my Cleric here. What I'm going to do is set up a red bubble. It's called Heaven's Wrath. We all call it red bubble here. But basically, it's the opposite of Regeneration Aura, which is the blue bubble, where it gives you the channeling speed by increases your attack rate by 25%, channeling speed by 35%, and bonus damage weapon attack by 700%. And so with this, you do not want to spark, but because you could put fist on a Sage Barb and get 5.0 APS, or on the Demon Barb. On the Demon Barb, you do not even have to. Oh, I can't put it on there. Hold on. Okay, so now I can wear the fist, and now I am not 5.0 yet. Cape. No. Okay, but there was a way to can get it. That's 4.0 APS with the fist, and like you don't have to sit there and spark and such. But here is the other reasons why clerics are Barb's best friend. Okay. Let's hope I can get a double crit to show you. So take a look at the hit points up here. Cleric's ultimate skill is this. Call upon Pangu to bless your ally with everlasting life. Double the target's maximum health and fully heals them last 40 seconds. Okay, so what you do is you hit that on him. Now he's up to 144,000. You hit that. And 160 something thousand turns into 11 million. But I don't think that zerked either, so that would have been 22 million on that one. Alright. Now, like I said, on Lord of Paradise, I was able to hit at least 70 mil. There's a higher number, but I want to save that for a video showing the damage that a Barb can do. So there you go. If you're a Cleric, please buff a Barb. If you're a Barb, please ask for the Cleric ulti buff. And with that, I think we're going to conclude this video. I hope you liked it. I hope you learned something new. If you did like it, please click the like, subscribe, share the video, and any questions, comments, or suggestions, leave them in the comment section. I'll get to them as soon as I can. I try to read every comment that I ever get. So, with that, we are going to say goodbye. All right, actually, no. What do I usually say? See you in game. Peace.